With the Nintendo Switch 2's brand new feature of the mouse, you could turn the Joy-Cons into a mouse, which is actually really cool. Every single Nintendo console always has its own unique gimmick, but this always had me thinking, like, since the very beginning, I was like, okay, this could actually bring more DS Pokemon games onto the Switch 2. And what I mean by that is, like, not only, like, obviously, black and white remakes are most likely going to be coming out on the Switch 2. Hopefully we get the Black and White 2 remakes on the Switch 2, which I've already made videos talking about the Black and White and the Black and White 2 remakes of like how they're actually going to pull that off. Like if they're going to do a collection game where it's Black and White as well as the Black and White 2 remakes on one cartridge, or if they're going to do Black and White remakes and then wait another like 5, 6, 7 or whatever years for the next Black and White 2 remakes, which I don't think would be a good idea. I think they should just drop both of them at the same time on the same cartridge, because Black and White and Black and White 2 are different games. Black and White 2 is not like a remake. A lot of people think Black and White 2 is a remake. It's not a remake, guys. When in reality, it's a different game from Black and White. So that's why I think it'd be cool to have those games on just one cartridge alone. But not only that, we could have the other DS games like Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Conquest, Pokemon Art Academy. Even a new like TCG app for the Switch 2 could actually work well. And I will be getting to all of this in this video. Okay, so I'm going to quickly talk about the remake stuff really quickly because I know that's what most of you guys want to hear. Pokemon remakes are still happening. The Black and White remakes are still going to happen. They didn't skip Gen 5 for Gen 6 for Legends ZA, mainly because Pokemon Legends ZA is not a remake. It's a Legends game based on Generation 6, but they didn't skip Generation 5 remakes. Just because we went to a Gen 6 game doesn't mean those remakes are happening. Pokemon has a specific schedule. They release a mainline game like a new generation, for example, Gen 1, 2, 3, all the way to number 9, which we're getting Gen 10 hopefully next year is the big hope for when that game is going to be released. And then they have a new remake, which is every, I don't know, like 6, 7 or so years, which we've had Gen 1 remakes, Gen 2 remakes, Gen 3, and Gen 4 remakes. It seems like we usually get one remake of a Pokemon game, like, per generation of Nintendo consoles, so the Switch 2 is probably only going to have one remake on it, but there's still that possibility of us getting 2 remakes on the Switch 2, but I think it's going to be just probably the Black and White remake, which, like I said, could be a collection type of thing, or they could do something different and do Black and White remakes one year, and the following year do the Black and White 2 remakes. I feel like that could also be pretty interesting, mainly because they're different games, first of all, but also because I feel like Game Freak and Nintendo and Pokemon are kind of switching things up just a little bit with their release schedule. For many generations of Pokemon, we've had a brand new generation every 3 years. Like the third year would be a brand new generation, but this year is different, guys. This year is not a new generation. We've had 3 years of no Pokemon game, and we're getting a Legends game. Like I said, next year should be the Generation 10 games, right? The new generation, Gen 10, which should be a 4-year gap from the Gen 9 games to the Gen 10 games. So stuff could change. However, I'm confident in the Black and White remakes still being released on the Switch 2. Not anytime soon, definitely not next year, probably not the following year, but I'm thinking maybe 2028, although it is possible for 2027. I feel like the most likely year is going to be 2028. I feel like 2026 will be Gen 10. 2027, I think, is going to be just a DLC for Generation 10. I think it's going to be a big DLC specifically for Generation 10, and I think the next year we're going to get Black and White remakes. And we know they could already do a DS game, on a Switch console, because the Gen 4 remakes were on the Switch, which the Gen 4 games originally were on the DS, and the DS has 2 screens, which is why it's interesting to see like what they're going to do for the Black and White remakes. They'll probably just do exactly what they did for the Gen 4 remakes and make it kind of like a different UI so you don't have to use that bottom screen anymore. As far as some of these other Pokemon games I'm going to talk about, we could definitely get a unique remake or remaster or even sequel, or even just like a new additional game to those original games, like Pokemon Conquest. Pokemon Conquest is a tactics game, and a mouse would be perfect for selecting different units and issuing commands faster and cleaner. It could bring this specific niche Pokemon style game back, for the Switch 2 release, because we could use the mouse as a stylus. Like the new Joy-Con mouse feature can be used as like the DS stylus, which obviously was a huge feature of the DS and the 3DS. Even though a lot of games didn't even actually use the stylus, there are some games that heavily used it. We could obviously get a brand new Pokemon art game where the mouse feature would just act as a paintbrush. That would be literally perfect. Now, these are not like the biggest games, but back in the day, guys, we used to get a lot of side games. Like Pokemon and Game Freak and Nintendo, they would make a lot of kind of just side games, or like games that aren't mainline, just kind of like random ones, which Pokemon Conquest is definitely one that's gone up in like popularity and value even over the last couple of years. Same with Pokemon Ranger games and even Mystery Dungeon games. And I want to hear from you. If you have ever played one of these games, which one have you played and which one was your favorite? Like as far as Pokemon Conquest, Ranger, Mystery Dungeon, or just like some of those other random Pokemon games that they've released over the last like 25 years. And obviously for the Pokemon Art Academy game, it would just be cool if the Switch could take use of the touchscreen, which I guess for the touchscreen feature on the Switch and the Switch 2, for most things is pretty much useless. I swear the only use I get out of it is either typing something or just like on the home page, like deciding when I'm going to play, then I'll click on a game. But for the most part, games don't really take advantage of that. But with Pokemon games, especially with like ports or remasters or just kind of like that style of a game, they could use the screen as like a stylus. We just use our finger like normal. In Pokemon Ranger, the original games, we had to use circles a lot, like draw circles with the stylus a lot to capture a Pokemon. So that's exactly why I think that the mouse feature would be absolutely perfect for a brand new Ranger game. Obviously, like I just said, as well as the touchscreen feature. But dude, I want to play some of these old games again. I never really had many side Pokemon games. I don't have any in my collection anymore. When I was a kid, dude, I got rid of so many of my DS games and I regret it so bad. In which a lot of these games, I don't even know what I had. Like, I swear I had Pokemon Emerald, but I can't confirm that because I'm pretty sure the DS Lite doesn't, track what games you had. If you don't know / remember, you could actually play Game Boy games on the DS Lite, which was so clutch. That was amazing. Then the DSi came out and they got rid of the Game Boy feature, which was a little unfortunate, but the DSi gave us that camera, which was revolutionary. They could even do like new games, like a Pokemon Maker game, kind of like the Mario Maker game, where like we could make our own region. That would be so awesome. I know the Pokemon community would love to have some sort of like Pokemon Maker game, maybe even other Pokemon strategy games, and like I said earlier, a TCG game would actually make sense because the mouse would be perfect for dragging cards, or like I said, the touchscreen as well. Pretty much everything I'm talking about is going hand in hand with the touchscreen and the mouse. But you could drag cards, interact just with the whole play area more. You could turn the Switch 2 vertically to take advantage of that. And this would bring a proper TCG game to the Switch. I mean, I don't know if there are other TCG games on the Switch. I'm sure there are a lot of TCG games, to be honest, but it would be cool to have like a big Nintendo game, like a TCG Nintendo game on the Switch. That would be super, super awesome. And as far as like other Pokemon spin-off games go, I would love to see a new Rumble Blast game or even a port to the Switch 2. You don't really need a stylus for those games though. I can't remember really using my stylus that much for those games, but it would still be really cool to have that on the Switch 2, or just like a new game or a remaster or a port. And maybe one day we'll get DS onto the Nintendo Online servers for the Switch Online stuff. We just got GameCube. We're gonna get some other GameCube games like Pokemon Coliseum. I think Pokemon Gale of Darkness is also coming soon as well, which is gonna be really cool. But I don't know, guys, I really do think that the Switch 2 eventually is gonna give us more of the OG Pokemon game onto the Switch 2, like as far as the side quest, as far as these side games go. And like I said, we're getting those black and white remakes. I would love to see even more DS games come out again, though, like no remasters of the DS games, because this doesn't even have to be specifically for Pokemon. This could literally be for any DS game in general. So if you guys have a cool DS game that you would love to see on the Switch 2, let me know down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts. I think that'd be super cool. And if you are a real one watching this far in the video, comment down below cheese, just to confuse the people that aren't watching this video, and to let me know that you are a real one. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.